Maya, page 29, the 5th edition. In the 6th edition, if you can't get the 5th edition, in the 6th edition, the quote is on page 41. It's in chapter 2, the earliest Maya. Okay? I'm going to use my 5th edition. In spite of over 6 decades of research, 60 years, there is little agreement among archaeologists as to when the first settlements of the New World took place. We still don't know when. Doors wide open. Some geologists have held that the initial colonization of this hemisphere must have been made by Siberian peoples crossing over the Bering Strait land bridge at about 14,000 years ago, during the last maximum of the Pleistocene, when sea level was far lower then than it is today. Yet long before this, boats must have been available to the peoples of Eurasia. Boats must have been available to the people of Eurasia. For recent evidence shows that Australia, which was never connected to Asia by a land bridge, was settled as far back as 50,000 years ago. The presence or absence of a land bridge from Siberia to Alaska is thus not necessarily relevant to the problem. Did you get that? Michael Coe, the world's foremost leading Mesoamerican scholar, just says the presence or absence of a land bridge from Siberia to Alaska is thus not necessarily relevant to the problem of the origin of the Americans. There's the first part of the bombshell. 20 years ago, if he'd have said that, he would have got his butt kicked out of academia. He would have lost his tenure. He would have been crucified. He couldn't have written this 20 years ago, because only the Bering Strait land bridge is acceptable. All other evidence is declared fake, no good, of no value. You go against the Bering Land Strait, you lose your credibility. Now we got the man himself saying the Bering Land Strait is irrelevant to the problem of the peopling of the Americas. Here's the second part of his bombshell. The first Americans may well have taken a maritime route. Now, if boats were available to the people back 14,000 BC, and he accepts that, he concedes the fact that they would have gotten to America by boat also, the door is wide open for the main theme of the Book of Mormon. Namely, a group of peoples from another continent sailed the seas and got here to America. The door has been opened, and the red carpet has been rolled out, and now the Book of Mormon, in scholarship, is grounded in reality. The plausibility is seriously there. He uses Australia as the example, but he says the same thing applies to the Americas, so the Bering Land Strait theory is irrelevant. Now, there are some people who could have come through the Bering Land Strait. That's true. But we also have maritime expeditions. He admits this because the evidence has been building and building and building of diffusional cross-cultural contacts. The evidence has gotten so great that it's no longer possible to ignore. Instead of declaring everything fake except for our theory, my, how convenient for the Bering Land Strait theorists, right? Oh, well, that wasn't Bering Land Strait? No, that's fake. It's phony. It's not even real. Now the scholars have admitted boats came across the oceans. Also, that is the Book of Mormon theme, folks. We now have Michael Coe saying, yeah, its relevance to the peopling of America is simply huge. Okay, if it was had earlier, if boating was available and capable and had earlier, it certainly can be had later, even in Book of Mormon time, 600 BC. 14,000 BC, if they could build them back then, they could obviously build them later because they would have improved the technology. 14,000 BC, if they could build them back then, they could obviously build them later because they would have improved the technology. Now, if that doesn't knock you on your keister, you're not understanding the significance of Michael Coe's concession here. Because nobody has taken it in the teeth more than we Mormons for the last 150 years, 200 years, than saying, well, there were people who came over by boat. We have been laughed to scorn. And now science is finally catching up with the Book of Mormon. Are you getting this? Science is finally catching up to something we've known for 200 years already. Yeah,